I remember the exact second my name stopped meaning anything to him. "You're outdated. We're done here," the CEO hissed across the polished glass table, breath sharp with borrowed confidence. I nodded, quietly. Understood. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. That was the moment the retirement trust activated its voting rights. By Monday morning, the board convened an emergency meeting. The only question on the agenda was simple and deeply inconvenient. Who just fired the man who owns 76% of the shares? 7 years ago, the woman I was about to marry left me for my brother. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally packed her things and crossed the hallway from my life into his penthouse. He was richer, louder, more visible, the kind of man who mistook noise for gravity. I was building things no one applauded yet. At our father's funeral, he arrived late, of course. Black suit, gold watch, her arm looped through his like a trophy polished for public display. They walked past the casket as if it were furniture. She leaned in when no one was listening, smiled with the confidence of someone who believed the story had already ended. "So," she whispered, "I guess I won, right? You're still poor." I looked at my father's face, still, final, then at hers, and I said calmly, "We'll see." Once, she believed in me. She believed when I worked nights and spoke in models and projections instead of promises. When I said wealth was a lagging indicator, not the goal. When I said patience was leverage. My brother laughed at that. He always did. He inherited money and confused it with intelligence, inherited attention and thought it meant respect. The betrayal wasn't the affair. That was amateur cruelty. The betrayal was what followed. He used my work, my early frameworks, my risk models, my contacts. He took credit with the ease of someone who'd never built anything and never expected consequences. She watched, encouraged it, told him I was too slow. I didn't confront them. I studied them. The truth came quietly, it always does. An email forwarded once too many times, a pitch deck with my language wearing his name, a fund prospectus that mirrored a prototype I'd shown her in confidence years ago when we still shared a bed. That night, I stopped being hurt. Hurt is loud. Planning is silent. I moved my assets into structures no one looks at because they aren't flashy. Trusts, pensions, retirement vehicles designed for decades, not headlines. I let my brother believe I was struggling. I let her believe I had stalled. I took advisory roles instead of titles, board seats instead of stages. I let time do what time always does, separate performers from architects. Surveillance wasn't dramatic. It was boring. Spreadsheets, filings, voting thresholds. I learned who owed whom, who hated whom, who was tired of being shouted over. I didn't collect revenge. I accumulated leverage. When the company grew large enough, my brother crowned himself CEO. That's when I joined quietly, as a temporary consultant. He didn't recognize me at first. People rarely do when they believe you're beneath them. He fired me 6 months later. Too quiet, too analytical, not visionary enough. "You're outdated. We're done here." Understood. That same afternoon, signatures cleared. The trust, my trust, held controlling interest. Not directly, that would have alarmed them. Indirectly, layered, boring, invisible. By the time the board realized the numbers, it was already procedural. Emergency meeting, closed doors, raised voices. My brother arrived late again. He laughed when he saw my name on the voting ledger. Then he stopped laughing. 76%. Control doesn't announce itself. It just ends conversations. The confrontation wasn't cinematic. It was worse. He stammered. She cried. The CEO, his CEO, refused to meet my eyes as the motion passed unanimously. Removal for gross mismanagement, breach of fiduciary duty, misrepresentation of intellectual property. All accurate, all documented, all signed. My brother looked at me like he was seeing a ghost that had learned accounting. "You planned this," he said. I didn't deny it. She tried to speak to me afterward, apologies wrapped in nostalgia, regret shaped like self-preservation. I told her the truth. "I didn't do this to hurt you," I said. "I did it because you mistook my silence for weakness." At the funeral reception, hours later, the same room where she'd whispered her victory, people whispered again. This time, my name moved through them differently. Power doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like stillness. I stood by my father's photograph and thought about inheritance, about what's given, about what's taken, about what's built slowly enough to survive betrayal. I don't hate my brother. I outgrew him. I don't miss her. She chose spectacle over substance. That's a short road.